A young and beautiful lady named Linda is in a bathtub, remembering her past. Linda is the star of a controversial adult movie which, although banned, is considered a film revolution by some film critics. It is the year 1970 in Florida. Linda and her best friend Patsy are sunning in her backyard. Their enjoyment is cut short when Linda's mother returns home from work earlier than intended. Her conservative mother is unhappy to see them in bikinis as she is against any form of nudity. One day, Linda and Patsy decide to visit a skating rink. Patsy is delighted with the playing band, so she tells the management that the band may benefit from adding dancers to enhance the entertainment. The management accepts her offer, and the two ladies return the next day, this time dancing on stage. The initially shy Linda gradually gets into the music and begins to move. She notices a man staring at her intently, and later as they leave, the ladies encounter the mystery man named Chuck. He tells the girls that they can earn a fortune dancing in Las Vegas, and from then on, Linda and Patsy start hanging out with the stranger. One night, Linda is heading to hang out with her friend, but her mother is against it. She critiques Linda's attire and questions her about her ambitions. Linda vows to keep to her curfew and sets out for the beach. The girls, together with Chuck and his friends, are unwinding by the bonfire while smoking some grass. Patsy invites Linda to go skinny dipping, but the young lady remains with Chuck, whom she becomes closer with, until they eventually make out. When they arrive home, Chuck is bothered by her silence. Linda opens up about getting pregnant when she was younger, but her mother misled her into having the child adopted. Chuck says that he wants to meet her parents, but Linda just laughs it off, knowing how strict her mother is. He makes a bet that if her parents like him, she should stay the night at his place. Chuck comes over for dinner and is his best self. He tells Linda's parents that he owns a bar and a restaurant, making the girls' parents warm to him. While the two are in the kitchen making some tea, Chuck carries Linda on the kitchen counter and pumps the lady right then and there. They eventually leave and head to his place where they continue their business until Linda loses track of time. She returns home beyond her curfew, and her mother surprises her with a smack on the cheek. The next day, Linda's mom pushes her out of the house, so she has no choice but to live with Chuck. The two young ladies start working at Chuck's bar, which also turns out to be a film location for adult movies. As Patsy pours a drink for Chuck, her best friend's boyfriend attempts to kiss her. Patsy does not tell Linda, but she warns her about what she might see in the room. Chuck and Linda's relationship deepens as they pleasure each other daily, until they eventually decided to tie the knot. Things appear to be going well, but 6 months after their union, the real Chuck is starting to emerge. One day he got arrested, and Linda bails him out. She asks what happened, but Chuck becomes agitated, and he reminds her not to ask again about his work. Chuck is concerned that they may no longer have enough money, so he convinces his wife to audition for an upcoming movie. Linda comes prepared with her speech, unknowing that she is auditioning for an adult film. The casting directors think that she is cute, but she lacks what it takes for the film. Chuck is determined to prove otherwise, so he shows them a video he shot of Linda blowing his candle. The directors are taken aback by Linda's ability to take that much, so they immediately cast her, and the filming starts. The makeup artist notices bruise on Linda's legs, which she dismisses as a result of her clumsiness. Linda is now the star of the show, but Chuck begins to exert greater authority as he instructs the makeup artist not to conceal Linda's freckles. Linda is worried as she reads her screenplay, so her co-star Harry, whom she will be enjoying with later on, introduces himself to her to make her feel more at ease. One day, the casting director decides to send Chuck to Miami for work. On the same day, Linda is scheduled to shoot for the very controversial scene. When it comes down to it, her abilities are exceptional as Harry finds himself bursting sooner than anticipated. After the successful shooting, they host an evening party, and everyone is astonished to hear Linda and Chuck loudly making love in the next room. The casting director grants Linda the second name Lovelace, and it bothers Chuck that he isn't taking part in his wife's fame. The picture debuted in theaters and began to acquire popularity. The film quickly becomes a moneymaker at the box office, with Linda appearing in interviews and red carpet events. Chuck brings Linda to a private screening of the film sponsored by the famed Hugh Hefner. Hefner whisks Linda away from her husband, and during the film, Chuck sits alone, while his wife and Hefner are in the balcony seats. 6 years later, Linda takes a lie detector test at the invitation of the publisher who is preparing a book about her life. Linda remembers Chuck assaulting her on most nights. She tries to tell him that she's getting hurt, but her addict husband dismisses it, saying that he is just too passionate. It also turns out that Chuck has been selling her to random men he meets at the club. Having had enough, Linda goes to see her mother and asks if she can move back since her husband has been physically assaulting her. Her mother rejects, saying Linda is married, and she tells her daughter to return to Chuck and become an obedient wife. Chuck later calls, looking for Linda, and when they arrive home, she tells her husband that she no longer wants to make the movie. However, Chuck threatens her with a firearm. Also, on the night of the celebration, the loud banging that everyone is hearing is actually Chuck tossing his wife on the wall. Chuck takes Linda shopping for a dress at a store where Patsy works. Linda's best friend notices that Linda looks stressed and suspects that she isn't happy in their marriage, so they head to the dressing room to discuss. She attempts to encourage Linda to open up, but Chuck is hiding behind the dressing room curtains, compelling Linda to lie and say her husband is a blessing in her life. The couple later go to dinner with the rest of the crew, where Anthony informs Chuck that he is going to double his wife's income for the sequel, and says he already told Linda about it. Because of this, Chuck tortures his wife for not telling him about it. On her polygraph test, Linda tells the publisher that her husband has been controlling her finances, and that she never saw a penny from her job, even after they relocated to Malibu. Hefner sends an aide to help in writing the autobiography of Linda, and she is apprehensive that Chuck is adding unnecessary information to the story regarding his huge stick. Anthony comes over, and it turns out that Chuck is in terrible debt as he owes Anthony $25,000. Chuck tells him that selling the Linda Lovelace doll and toys would return his money 5 times, but Anthony doubts it, saying that the only way he can pay is when he puts Linda back to work on the sequel. Back to the night of the private screening, Hefner asks Linda to come up on stage, and after seeing his wife being applauded by the audience, Chuck drives away, leaving her without a ride. When she arrives home, she contacts her father, who is disappointed by her decision to star in an adult film. Chuck arrives and says that while she is busy parading on stage, they just lost a movie deal. Linda apologizes and says that she no longer wants to do adult movies. Her husband nods, and he asks Linda to come with him to a party. They end up in a hotel where a well-known movie director and some of his buddies are waiting. Linda gets a nasty feeling about it, so she attempts to flee, but Chuck threatens her with a pistol. She sees her husband receive an envelope full of cash and leaves. Moments later, the man comes over the bed and mobs Linda. When they reach home, Linda attempts to run away and escape, but she accidentally trips over. Coincidentally, 2 police officers pass by on patrol, but out of fear, she confirms that Chuck is her husband. Instead of asking further, the officer seems more concerned on getting her autograph. Linda slips off to a payphone the next morning to call Anthony. They later meet at a hotel where the man asks about the money they owe him, and Linda explains that she has never received a penny. Anthony persuades her to shoot another adult film, and so Linda pulls off her glasses, revealing the bruise on her eye. Anthony is taken aback, and he offers her a hotel room to stay. While getting high, Chuck contacts different hotels, looking for Linda, but to no avail. He later receives a call from Anthony, telling him where his wife is. He later arrives at the hotel, only to find Anthony and his goons waiting for him. They beat him up, and Anthony lashes him with the belt while threatening him not to find his wife again. Linda is enjoying the peace and quiet she hasn't had in a long time. 6 years later, Linda now happily lives in New York together with her new family. She gets a call one morning from her publisher, telling her that she successfully passed the polygraph test, indicating that her story is true. Linda is invited to appear on a prominent talk program to share her tale with the world. Her parents watched the interview with remorse, especially her mother who didn't listen to Linda and instead urged her to obey her husband. Days later, they get reunited, and the mother, who is still trying to be cold-hearted, is relieved that Linda still loves her. Although Linda did not receive the compensation she deserves from her film, her book became a big hit and sold out at 3 printings. Did you like our movie recap? Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. To be updated for new movie recaps, hit the notification bell.